The alarm does not sound like an alarm. It sounds like breathing, slow and metallic, filling the corridor above my head. I am pressed into a maintenance crawl space with my knees against my chest, and through a narrow grate below me, I count 3 shapes moving in the dark. They are not human. They are tall, their joints bend the wrong way, and they carry weapons I have never seen outside a supply catalog. I was supposed to be on the evacuation shuttle 6 hours ago. I stayed behind because the backup generator on level 2 was failing, and nobody else knew how to fix it. That decision, small and boring at the time, is the only reason I am alive to watch these strangers walk through my station like they already own it. My name is Claire Whitmore. I am a maintenance technician, not a soldier, not a fighter, not anyone who was ever trained to survive something like this. I fix broken pipes and faulty wiring. I know every panel, every vent, every stubborn door on this outpost because I have spent 4 years keeping it alive. Right now, that knowledge is the only weapon I have. The 3 shapes below me stop walking. One of them lifts a device and scans the corridor. I do not move. I do not breathe. My heart is loud enough that I worry it will give me away. After a long moment, they continue forward, toward the environmental control room, toward the crates of equipment they clearly came here to take. If I do nothing, they will finish their work and leave. That should be the safe choice. Staying hidden should be the smart choice. But I know something they do not know. I know that in 4 minutes, this corridor becomes a dead end if I close the far bulkhead. I know that the environmental system still listens to my command codes, even though the station was marked for decommission. I know that the air recyclers in this section can be redirected, and that a vent I patched myself 2 months ago has a weak seal that nobody ever properly fixed. I do not decide to act because I am brave. I decide because staying silent forever is not actually an option. Eventually they will search every level. Eventually they will find me. So I choose the moment, instead of letting the moment choose me. I reach for the panel beside my knee, the one I am not technically allowed to override without authorization that no longer exists because there is no one left to authorize anything. My fingers move fast, entering a sequence I have typed 100 times during drills that were supposed to be routine. The bulkhead behind the 3 intruders slides shut with a heavy sound that echoes through the corridor. They turn, but it is already sealed. Then I trigger the atmospheric purge, sending the breathable air in that section rushing out through the weak vent and into the emptiness beyond the hull. It takes less than a minute. When it is finished, the corridor is silent in a different way than before. I sit very still in the crawl space, staring at nothing, feeling the weight of what I just did settle into my chest. There is no time to process it properly. Somewhere else on the station, more of them are moving. I heard at least a dozen voices when they first came through the docking clamp, low and unfamiliar, speaking a language that sounded like static wrapped around words. If 3 are gone, that still leaves many more, and they will notice soon that their team has stopped responding. I climb out of the crawl space through a maintenance hatch that leads into a supply closet on the lower deck. My hands are shaking, but my mind is doing something strange and useful. It is making a list. Every list I have ever made on this job was about broken equipment. This one is about survival, and it turns out my job trained me for it more than I expected. I know this station does not have any weapons stored anywhere, because it was a mining relay, not a military post. What it has instead is machinery, and machinery can be dangerous if you understand how to use it wrong on purpose. I think about the cargo lift on Deck 3, the one with a brake assembly that weighs as much as a small vehicle. I think about the coolant lines running behind the reactor housing, hot enough to cause serious harm if released the wrong way. I think about doors that lock, vents that carry sound, and lights that can be cut to leave someone standing in total darkness while I am not. A voice crackles somewhere above me through the station's old speaker system, which I forgot was still partially wired into a channel the intruders must have tapped into. It is not speaking to me. It is speaking to itself, or to someone far away, reporting that the outpost is confirmed empty, and that there has been a minor equipment failure resulting in the loss of a few team members. Equipment failure. That is what they are calling it. They do not know I exist yet, and something about being invisible to them settles a strange kind of calm over me. If they believe there are no witnesses, then every move I make will surprise them completely. I move through the ventilation shafts instead of the corridors, because the shafts are narrow enough that their larger frames will not fit through easily, and because I know every turn by memory. I pass over a group of 4 of them gathered near the cargo bay, discussing something in their strange, static-heavy language, while pointing at a stack of crates they intend to take. I do not linger. I have a plan now, and plans require timing. The cargo lift sits at the far end of Deck 3, a massive mechanical platform used to move heavy equipment between levels. Its brake assembly is old and was scheduled for replacement before the station was decommissioned, which means I know exactly how to disable it from a distance using a control panel 30 meters away. I position myself in the shaft directly above the lift shaft itself, waiting, listening through the grate below for the sound of footsteps. They come faster than I expect. 2 of them, moving cautiously, weapons raised, clearly searching for their missing companions. I wait until they are standing directly beneath the lift platform, checking a side corridor, and then I release the brake. The platform drops. The sound it makes is heavy and final, and after it happens, the corridor beneath me goes quiet again. I do not feel triumphant. I feel sick and tired, and far too aware that I am now 4 minutes closer to the moment when the ones remaining realize this is not equipment failure at all. My hands are trembling as I move back through the shaft, and I force myself to keep counting exits, keep counting time, because stopping to feel anything right now is a luxury I cannot afford. Somewhere behind me, an alarm finally rises in their transmissions, sharp and urgent, and I realize they have started searching in earnest. I hear my own name nowhere in their words, because they still do not know who or what is responsible. That confusion is useful. As long as they think they are dealing with a malfunction rather than a person, they will waste time checking machinery instead of checking every crawlspace and closet on this station. I make my way toward the reactor housing, where the coolant lines run in tight loops behind a service panel I have opened more times than I can count. It is not a place I want to fight anyone, but it is a place I can control completely, because I built half of its current wiring with my own hands after the original system started failing months ago. 2 more of them find their way there before I do, drawn by the sound of machinery or perhaps simply searching methodically, level by level. I watch through a gap in the panel as they inspect the reactor controls, clearly suspicious now, speaking quickly to each other in tones that sound less confident than before. I wait until one of them steps close enough to the coolant valve that I have already loosened, and then I turn the release from my hidden position. The line vents sharply, forcing them both back and away from the narrow space, buying me the only thing I actually need, which is time. I do not stay to see what happens next. I retreat through the access tunnel behind the reactor, moving toward the upper deck where the shuttle bay control room sits, mostly untouched because it was never part of their inventory list. This is where I finally allow myself 30 seconds to breathe, sitting on the floor with my back against a cold metal wall, listening to my own pulse slow down just slightly. Through the station's remaining working camera feed, which I can access from an old technician's terminal in this room, I watch the ones still functioning gather near the docking clamp. There are 4 left now, out of what I originally counted as more than a dozen. Their voices have changed. The confidence from earlier is gone, replaced by something sharper, more careful. One of them keeps repeating a phrase into a communicator, and though I cannot understand the words, I recognize the tone. It is the tone of someone reporting bad news to someone who does not want to hear it. I think, for a moment, about simply staying hidden now. 4 remain. They are frightened, uncertain, no longer confident that this outpost is empty. Maybe they will decide the loss is not worth the risk, and retreat entirely. But then I watch one of them lift a device toward the ceiling, scanning slowly, methodically, the way someone searches when they have finally accepted there is a person responsible for what has been happening. They are no longer treating this as equipment failure. They are hunting. I decide then that hiding and waiting is no longer a real option. If they search every level with that kind of care, they will eventually find me, and I would rather choose the terms of what happens next than wait for them to choose it for me. I remember something from an old safety briefing years ago, back when this station still had a full crew and regular drills. 2 of the escape pods on Deck 4 are still functional, even after decommissioning, because nobody bothered to strip them for parts. They are small, meant for emergency evacuation of 2 or 3 people at a time, and they can be launched remotely from a control terminal near the docking bay, a terminal that happens to be very close to where the remaining 4 intruders are currently standing. It is a strange plan, and a risky one, but it does not require anyone to be harmed the way the earlier moments did, and something in me wants that very badly right now. I move quietly along the upper deck, staying in shadow, staying close to the wall, until I reach a position where I can see the docking bay through a reinforced window without being seen myself. 2 of the remaining 4 are standing near the pods, likely considering them as a way to search the lower decks faster, or perhaps simply resting after everything that has happened. I watch them for a long moment, waiting for the right instant, and then I trigger the release sequence from the small terminal built into the wall beside me. The pod doors seal automatically, a safety feature nobody ever removed, and the launch sequence begins before either of them fully understands what is happening. The pod detaches from the station and drifts into the surrounding debris field, carrying them somewhere safe but very far from where they intended to be. 2 left. My hands are steadier now than I expect them to be, though my chest still feels tight with something between fear and disbelief that I am the one doing any of this. I think about my sister, who used to tell me I worried too much about small mechanical problems, that I treated every broken valve like it mattered more than it did. I think she would laugh, and then she would be terrified if she could see what those small mechanical problems have become tonight. The final 2 intruders regroup near the central corridor, close enough together now that I can hear fragments of their conversation through a nearby vent, even without understanding the language. Their tone has shifted completely. There is no more confidence in it, no more casual certainty that this was an easy job. There is only urgency, and beneath it, something that sounds almost like fear. I realize, watching them from my hidden position, that I do not actually want this to continue any longer than necessary. I am tired in a way I have never been tired before. The kind of exhaustion that comes not from physical effort but from carrying the full weight of every decision for hours without anyone to share it with. I want this to end, but I want it to end without anyone else needing to disappear the way the others did. I remember the old comm relay near the shuttle bay, the one still connected to the general station frequency, the one they must have used to contact wherever they came from. If I can reach it, I might be able to send something, anything, that makes it clear this station is not the easy target they believed it to be. Not a threat, just a message. A simple truth that changes the entire situation the moment they understand it. I make my way toward the relay, moving carefully, listening for every sound. The 2 remaining intruders are close, closer than I would like, but they are moving away from my position now, back toward the docking bay, likely preparing to retreat given how badly their mission has gone. I reach the relay terminal and activate the general frequency, broadcasting a simple, calm message in the universal distress code that every ship and station in this region is required to recognize. This outpost is occupied. This outpost is defended. Leave now, and no further harm needs to happen. I do not know if they understand the words, but I know they understand the code, because within minutes, I watch through the remaining camera feed as the last 2 intruders retreat toward the docking clamp, moving quickly now, no longer searching, no longer confident, simply leaving. Their ship detaches from the station with a heavy mechanical sound, and then it is gone, drifting away into the dark beyond the viewport, leaving behind a silence so complete, it feels like its own kind of sound. I sit down against the nearest wall and stay there for a long time, longer than I mean to, staring at nothing, feeling my heartbeat slowly return to something normal. I do not feel like celebrating. I feel hollow and tired, and strangely aware of every small ache in my body that I had not noticed during the hours before. My hands are still shaking slightly when I finally reach for the station's remaining working comm system to send a proper distress signal, the kind meant for rescue rather than warning. I give my name and badge number the way I have given it 100 times before during routine reports, my voice steady despite everything, because some habits do not break even when everything else has changed completely. I request extraction, and then I wait, alone, in a station that is quiet now in a way it was never quiet before, surrounded by cameras that recorded every single moment of what happened here, whether anyone believed there was a witness or not. Hours later, when the rescue team finally arrives, they find me sitting calmly near the docking bay, having already restored basic power to the sections that were damaged, having already logged every event as clearly and factually as I could manage. They ask me what happened, and I tell them the truth, plainly, without exaggeration, because the footage from those 41 cameras will tell the same story regardless of how I choose to describe it. What the investigators later determine, once they review every recorded second of that night, is that a single maintenance technician, someone with no combat training and no weapon in the traditional sense, used nothing but knowledge of her own station to change the outcome of an operation that was supposed to be simple, quiet, and entirely without consequence. The intruders believed there were no witnesses, because they saw no soldiers, no defenses, no obvious danger waiting for them. They were right that no one was watching in the way they expected. But the cameras were always watching, recording every decision, every risk, every choice made by someone who refused to disappear quietly, simply because she happened to be the only one left. I think about that a lot in the weeks after, once I am finally somewhere safe, somewhere quiet, far from that station and everything that happened inside it. I think about how easily things could have gone differently, how many moments could have ended badly instead of the way they did. I do not think of myself as brave, not in the way people use that word afterward, in interviews and reports and quiet conversations meant to make sense of something that never fully makes sense. I think of myself as someone who simply refused to become a number on a list that someone else wrote down as an afterthought. The station is decommissioned properly now, its systems stripped for parts, its corridors finally as empty as everyone once believed them to be. But somewhere in an archive, on a data drive kept for legal and historical record, 41 cameras still hold the full account of what happened during those 6 hours, unedited, unclaimed by anyone's version of the story except the truth itself. And every time someone reviews that footage expecting to see nothing but an empty station and a simple equipment failure, they find instead a record of exactly what happens when someone believes they are alone, unwatched, and free to act without consequence, only to discover that the truth was recording them the entire time.